I think at the time and place that Brett and
there we go. All right. Welcome again. Thank you all for being here and thank you for staying on. I'm recording this for those who registered, but also told me they probably wouldn't be able to make it tonight. So I hope that you guys are okay with this being recorded. Any questions that you may have are confidential. You can put them in the chat. You can put them in the chat, or we can open the lines and you can verbally ask what your question may be. But know that whatever here is going to be, whatever's discussed here is going to be confidential. So no worries about that. Please feel free to be open and honest, and no question is a dumb question. So please feel free, if you have a question, please ask. Again, like I said, this is going to be interactive. So I like to hear from you guys as well. And if you have a noisy background, you can just put whatever it is in the chat as opposed to unmuting yourself. Thank you. All right, let's get started, guys. So welcome to the Dr. Roz Relationship Makeover Masterclass. Thank you for being here tonight. Tonight, we're going to learn how to heal from betrayals, how to remove barriers to love, how to understand your personality relationship. Did you guys even know that you had a personality relationship? Most people don't know that. So is that new for some of you guys, that relationship personalities are a thing? Most people are like, I just think that I'm just in a relationship. I don't even think about the personality that I bring into the relationship. So you'll be learning about that tonight, a little bit about that tonight, and also understanding how you emotionally attach to others. So let's do some social media shout outs. Tonight, if you could use the hashtags for tonight are Dr. Roz Events and Dr. Roz Educates. And if something resonates with you, if you can just tag me at Dr. Roz Aker Black on Instagram, Twitter or Facebook, or TikTok if you're on TikTok. And feel free, I'm at Dr. Roz Aker Black on all of those. And feel free to screenshot using the hashtag. So 2 lucky winners will be picked randomly for a surprise worth $8.50 tonight. So make sure if something resonates with you, make sure that you're tagging me so that I can pick my winners for tonight, okay? All right, so those hashtags again are Dr. Roz Events and Dr. Roz Educates. And you can tag me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Tag me in your stories on Instagram so that I can repost your stories at Dr. Roz Aker Black. Thank you. All right, so the course objectives tonight, guys, is that we're going to discuss who are you? And it's really going to be about understanding your relationship personality and how to begin the healing process. I know that there's so many people who have dealt with relationship trauma, and it may not even be from the present person that you're in a relationship with. It's something that may have occurred in your past, but it's keeping you stuck in your present relationship. And so many of you may be here tonight trying to figure out how you can move past that. Because people think that once you've been hurt, it's just too hard to trust anyone else. It's too hard to have another loving relationship. But I'm here to tell you that's absolutely not true. As long as you have the right tools, you can have a healthy relationship with someone else. You absolutely can. It's just a matter of utilizing the tools, recognizing where the issues may be, and recognizing where the trauma may have occurred, that how it's holding you back, and being able to work on it from that standpoint can get you to the place of where you're able to be in a healthy relationship. All right, so let's begin with who am I? I am a clinical psychologist and relationship expert. I'm the series psychologist on TV Once For My Woman. I'm a TEDx speaker. My speech was Surviving Betrayal. You guys have seen me in Huffington Post, Fox 5 DC, NBC4, and I am the relationship expert for WHUR, several of the shows on WHUR for Harold and for Angela. So you guys have probably heard me do relationship segments with them on WHUR. And I am a wife and a mother of one fur baby who just turned 1, and he is teething and biting everything, but he's my heart. All right, so let's talk about who are you? This question may catch you by surprise. However, in order for you to understand your relationship personality, you have to be honest about how you see yourself. And really what I mean by that is that if you are describing you to someone else, how would you describe you? Most people struggle with defining who they are, and knowing how they show up in the world. So really tonight, I really want you guys to think about what's your definition of who you are, and that definition really is truly the only definition that matters. But if you do not take the time out to get to know yourself, it's unrealistic to expect anyone else to get to know you. So I would like for you guys to do an exercise. If you have your phone or if you have a piece of paper, we're going to take 2 minutes, and I want you guys to write 25 things about you that no one else has ever told you. So if someone has told you that you're friendly, if someone has told you that you're class clown, like, don't use those descriptors. But seriously, whatever you think, however you would describe yourself. If I were to give you $1 million, how would you describe you? What would you want me to know about you? And here's really an opportunity, guys, to be really extremely honest with yourself about who you are, because the reason why people fail in their relationships because they do not get to the core of who they really are. They don't understand who they are. So they get into these relationships and they just kind of go with the flow, and they recognize that the relationship does not really serve them as it should. I apologize. I am getting text messages. So let me just double check to make sure that's not someone who can't get in tonight. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So we're going to take 1 more minute for you to describe yourself. 25 words of who you are. And I do this exercise because people really struggle with defining themselves. They really have no clue of how to define them, because most of us, like, ever since I was a little girl, I always heard, you're so friendly, you're always smiling. So that's really how I began to see myself. But if I was really honest with myself, although I am a happy-go-lucky person, just like anybody else, it's human nature, I don't want to be bothered with people sometimes. Although if you know me, you wouldn't think that about me, but I have my moments where I don't want to be bothered, which is human nature, that lots of us don't want to. But just being clear about who you are, I realized probably in my 20s that I was showing up in a way that of how people describe me. And I was like, sometimes I'm not being as authentic as I probably should be. And so that's when I had to really get really honest with myself about, really, Roz, who are you? Like, what do you bring to the table? You're not just Dolores and Ronnie's daughter. You're not just Rhonda, Nita, and Tika's sister. You're not just the greatest auntie ever. You're not just someone's girlfriend, someone's wife. You're not just this student. Who are you? Like, literally, who are you? So having a really honest moment with myself about who I think that I am and what I think that I deserve in a relationship and what I want that to look like made all the difference in the world once I became very clear on who I was. Because again, if you don't take the time out to get to know you, it's unrealistic to think that anybody else would want to. So if you can't be comfortable with who you are, it's unrealistic to expect anyone else to be. So let's get into this. Let's talk about self-esteem versus self-concept. I'm sure many of you guys have heard of self-esteem. How many of you guys have heard of self-concept? You can just put a 1 in the chat if you've heard of self-concept before. So like maybe one person has heard. And it's not necessarily something that we talk about, because we hear self-esteem most of the time because people feel that if you have self-esteem, if you have high self-esteem, you'll be okay in this world, which that could be farther from the truth. And I'm going to tell you why. Self-esteem is the judgment and the opinions we have about ourselves, how we feel about ourselves. It is the picture of how we see ourselves in this world. And the problem with that, if we're going to be honest about feelings, those feelings change regularly. And so you can't rely on how you feel to determine who you are. And that's why a lot of people get in trouble with this idea of having this high self-esteem and thinking that that's all that they need, to be in a relationship or to flourish or to function in this world. But if you are relying just on your self-esteem, you're going to run into issues, unfortunately. All right, we have other people admitting. Sorry about that. I'm trying to get everyone in. See, some of you guys are waiting in the waiting room. Trying to get you all in. Okay. All right. So that is self-esteem. Let's talk about self-concept a bit. Self-concept is the beliefs we have in ourselves. It's the belief about who we can become that generally sets our path in life. So when you think about that, think about the beliefs that you have about yourself. If you think you're a good person, that's generally not going to change with the situation, right? So if you did something wrong, you're not going to say I'm a horrible person because I did this. You're probably still going to think that you are a good person. So our self-concept is a little bit more reliable. Excuse me, sorry about that. Our self-concept is a little bit more reliable as opposed to our self-esteem, because our self-esteem is going to be based on situational factors, how we feel about ourselves in that moment. And many of you guys that are on the call, many of you guys are here in the DC, Maryland area, you know that we have crazy traffic in this area. So you can be in your car for 15 minutes and go through 1,200 emotions just because of traffic. So you can't really rely on that to tell you who you are, right? You can't rely on your feelings. Your feelings are never going to be stable. They are never going to be stable. And if we're honest with ourselves, we emote all day long. We don't want to be bothered. We don't want anybody to say anything to us at work. We don't want to sit in another meeting. We don't want to read another email. We go through emotions all day long, but does that really change who you see yourself as if you see yourself as a competent professional? No, that's your self-concept that's telling you I'm a competent professional, and I see myself as this person, and so that's how I'm going to show up. So I would encourage people to rely on your self-concept a whole lot more than your self-esteem. All right, so let's put those two together. Who are you? Here's where your self-image becomes known. Your self-image influences your self-concept, and they both determine your self-image. So your attractability factor is based on your self-image, how you truly see yourself, what you believe about yourself, and how you see yourself in the moment. So whatever message you have told yourself about who you are is also the message that you are displaying to the world. Does that make sense? Any questions about that? Because really understanding your self-image is going to make all the difference in the world. Because when you are clear about who you are, then you know how to show up in the world. You know how to tell other people how to treat you. How many of us realize that people treat us based on our attractability factor? Is that new? Is that a new term for anyone? Or have you guys ever thought about that before? You can let me know in the chat. Definitely. That's true. I agree with that. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, whatever message you've told yourself about who you are, that's how you show up. If you walk at your house like I'm having a good day today, you're going to be more determined to have a good day. If you walk out your house like, oh, I just don't want to do this. I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be around people. That's how you're going to show up. So when we tend to see people like that, we're like, oh, they got a bad attitude. That's the first impression that someone may have of you. And that may not be true about you at all. May not be true about you at all. So I always tell people when I am coaching them when I'm doing coaching on dating, be careful about how you show up in the world. And this one here is specifically for women, because I've seen so many women get upset if they're walking by and a man says, "Smile, sweetheart," or something to that effect, and they get upset. And here's what I want you to understand. What that guy is doing is that he actually thinks you're attractive, but he's trying to see if you're likable. He's trying to see if you're someone that's approachable that he should even waste his time on. But if not, if you come back with an attitude, then that's when we get that old adage. Sorry, y'all, my dog. I don't know if he sees zebras in the yard or not. It's deer back there, so that's what he's barking at. So I apologize, guys. But it's not that he's trying to tell you what to do, but he's trying to see if you're worth his time. And I've seen so many women get irritated because some man has told them to smile. He's just trying to see what you look like, if you're approachable, and if you are worth his time. He's testing your attractability factor. Because let's be honest, if you walk into a bar and you see somebody with a stank face and they look like they got a nasty attitude, you don't want to be around them. You don't want to have anything to do with them. But so that's all that a guy is doing in that moment. And sometimes it's hard for women to see that and take that as a compliment, because they're like, don't be telling me to smile, or, it may bring about an attitude right away. And I just want you guys to understand where that perspective is coming from, what that guy is doing. It's because he is testing your attractability factor. He's testing whether you are worth pursuing to get to know. And how you respond will tell him everything he needs to know about you, or whatever he may be feeling in that moment. So perception is reality. How you show up is how people will judge you. And truthfully, it only takes about 2.5 seconds to make a judgment about someone. We have all been in the mall, or we've seen someone on the streets, but we do a double turn like, oh my God, they may look crazy. And we're like, what in the world? We've all had that moment, because it's human nature. It is what we do. So you want to make sure if someone is doing a double take on you, or they're turning their head to see you, that they're getting a great representation of who you are. You want to make sure that your attractability factor is showing up in the way that you think that it should be. And that really is understanding your self-image. There really is understanding who you believe yourself to be, what you feel about yourself in that moment, and how you show up in the world, and how you want others to see you. Any questions about that, guys? Okay, all right. We'll keep it moving. All right, so who are you? We're gonna stay on this, because I really wanna make it very clear that so many people get into relationships and they don't know who they are. And then they wonder why the relationship doesn't work. This is why. Because you don't have a clear idea of who you are, what you want, what you desire in your relationship. Some of us just say, oh, he goes to church, he prays, and he pays the bills, and that's enough for us to be like, I want to be with him. Or I know we have a couple of guys on. Some of you guys may be like, she's got it everywhere. She cooks, she cleans, and that's enough for you to say, I'll spend some time with her. But I think you got to be very clear about what you want, because those attributes mean nothing at the end of the day. They mean absolutely nothing. So who you are matters more than you being attractive, having a great body, securing the bag, or having a wonderful personality. And if you think about it, those are all the things that people use to describe someone. If you're not clear on who you are, you will attract anything. How many of you have been in a situation where you're just like, oh my God, if this person don't stop, get out of my DMs? Like, what in the world, what in the world would make them think that I'm interested in them? Like, what is it about me that makes this caliber of a person think that I may be interested in them? And that's typically really a rare question that you may have to ask yourself. If you're attracting, I don't know, I don't want to say degrading things, but if you're attracting something that's less desirable than what you want, then you have to look at how you are portraying yourself. So what are they seeing that thinks that they have a shot to get with you? So that's a question you got to ask yourself, guys. All right, so in this, I always like to tell people that we should be doing a SWOT analysis of ourselves all the time. And this is how you get to the core of figuring out who you are. So for those that may not be familiar, a SWOT analysis is when you do an assessment of your strength, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. So what are your strengths? And you guys may want to screenshot this. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities for a healthy relationship? What are your threats to a healthy relationship? Sometimes you're your biggest threat to a healthy relationship. You are. You are. And that's so hard for people to hear sometimes. But sometimes you are the biggest threat to your relationship because you come in with baggage, you come in with these preconceived notions, you come in with this ideology that this is what it should look like. And when it does not show up in the way that you think it should look like, it begins to fall apart. And you play a role in that falling apart because you haven't done the proper analysis to figure out who you are. So when you don't know who you are, you will attract anything. And I mean anything. So it's always important for you guys to do a SWOT analysis of who you are, trying to figure out who you are, because when you know who you are, people can't come into your life and tell you who you are. Mm-hmm. And we call that, that's one of the major red flags, that's out there, somebody coming in your life and they have you thinking one thing about yourself that you know not to be true. And what that is that they're testing the limits to see how far they can go with you. So you want to ensure that when someone new comes into your life, that you're not giving them the opportunity to test the limits, to tell you who you are. You need to be clear about who you are up front, and they should understand who you are up front. How you portray yourself, how you present yourself should give them an idea of who you are. Because when people are very clear about who you are, they won't try to run over you. If they think they have an inch, they'll take a mile. How many of you guys have been in a situation where that has happened to you? Someone is taking your kindness for weakness. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it happens to the best of us. And this may not even be in your romantic relationships. This can be on your job. This could be in your parent-child relationships. This could be in any relationships. It could be in your friendships. Will people be like, oh, I think she'll go for it. I'm going to see if I can get this over on her. People will try it. People will push the limits on you all the time. That's why you have to know who you are and set the boundaries of how people would treat you. And the best way to do that is to do a SWOT analysis. So I hope you guys were able to get a screenshot of that, because that is definitely something that you have to think about, right? Something that we don't naturally think about. We're not really thinking about what are our opportunities for a healthy relationship, but we all have opportunities for a healthy relationship. What does that look like? I'm glad you asked that, Dr. Roz, because opportunities could look like you being more open, you being more agreeable, you deciding to trust someone, you deciding to go on that date, you're more flexible, you're not so rigid. Because sometimes, again, that could be one of the threats. You're so rigid and inflexible that nobody wants to be bothered with you. We've all met people like that in our lives, correct? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have. And it's just kind of like, I don't even want to have a conversation with this person because I know it's going to be an argument. Like, nobody wants to be in that position ever. So you have to be very careful about your disposition, about how you were showing up and how other people are perceiving you. And the best way to know how people perceive you is for you to tell them how to perceive you. We are all brands. And so how you present your brand is how people will treat you. So you have to be the brand manager of your life and making sure that what you think that you are explicitly showing that to everyone else. And so that they treat you in that way. None of us are going up to Nike and just saying, we don't mess with you, Nike. We ain't gonna just do it. Like nobody's doing that, because they've proven with their brand that there's empowerment. There's just do it. So if you put on Nike gear, you're pretty much gonna be apt to just do it. It gives you this certain kind of empowerment. So you want to be that way about yourself. When you are empowered, you teach other people how to treat you. When you are not empowered, you're telling other people that they don't have to treat you worth anything. Does that make sense? Oh, can someone mute their line, please? Thank you. Does that make sense in terms of the SWOT analysis? Did this resonate with anyone?
Mhm.
Okay, great. You can put it in the chat, or you can unmute your mics and just say yay or nay.
Mhm.
Guys, I want to make sure that some of you came on after the fact. I want to make sure that you know that the hashtags for tonight are Dr. Roz Educates. And let me just go back to them. So let me not lie. I have several hashtags, but I want to remember them. So you want to make sure you're doing social media shout outs, and the hashtags for tonight are going to be Dr. Roz Events and Dr. Roz Educates. If something resonates with you, tag me at Dr. Roz Aker Black on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook. And I'm on TikTok too, and on TikTok. And feel free to screenshot using the hashtags. 2 lucky winners will be picked randomly for a surprise worth $850 tonight. So I don't want you to miss out on that surprise and on that bonus. So make sure you are putting these in your stories, you're tagging me, posting to your page so that I can see that you were here and that you were present with me. All right, so now we've talked about who you are and how to figure out who you are by doing the SWOT analysis. Let's get into understanding your relationship personality. If any of you guys have been following me for an extended period of time, you know that I am always talking about attachment styles because I believe that people don't know how they attach to other people. People don't know how they emotionally connect to other people because it's not something that we learn in kindergarten through 12th grade. It really is advanced learning or something that you are doing on your own that you really hear this idea of attachment styles. So let me explain a little bit of it to you. In all of our educational endeavors, how to love someone appropriately is never taught. Instead, our parents or caretakers are our first teachers, and typically how they love, nurture, and raise us is how many of us learn to love. Have you ever had a mama where you're like, oh my God, I just emulated my mom so much in that moment? Anybody ever gone through that? It really is human nature. We really are parents. Whatever they taught us is just what we do. It's how we show up in the world. So what exactly does this all mean, and why is it important for us to know our attachment styles? Once you know how you attach or emotionally bond to people, you are better able to see the red flags and recognize whether a potential relationship is safe for you. Because that is the crux of a healthy relationship. Do you feel safe in that relationship? If you do not feel safe in that relationship is no longer serving you. And you have to be clear on that. What does safety look like for you? Because some of us it could have been raised in some environments where anything could happen. And so you may not understand what safety looks like. And so what is a healthy sense of safety? And that's something you would have to kind of figure out and determine for yourself when you get into a relationship. So attachment theory suggests that bonding occurs through a set of learned behaviors, responsiveness, and care from our parents or caretakers. 4 distinct attachment styles are used to describe the care that we received as infants, which in turn taught us how to respond to the world and form interpersonal relationships with others. Here's where you should take notes, as this information will help you determine your relationship personality and start you on the path to healing. And while you guys are taking out your pen and paper to take notes, I'm gonna take a little swig of water if you don't mind. Thank you. So let's talk about secure attachment styles. It is our first attachment style, and it is simply what it suggests. Children who are raised in a secure environment have responsive parents that effectively and efficiently tends to the child's needs and make the child feel safe and secure. These children become adults who are not afraid to explore the world because they have been taught there is a safety net. They are able to develop meaningful relationships and exhibit trust and empathy readily. These are the type of individuals that make great life partners. And if I could use an example of parents displaying a secure attachment style, I would say the Cosbys. Claire and Bill did a great job in letting their kids know that they mattered to them, even though they had busy careers. And they were always on one accord in terms of how they were going to handle discipline with the kids and the messages that the kids were going to learn. The avoidant attachment style is our second attachment style, and it suggests that parents were neglectful, unavailable, and rejecting of their child, whether it was due to postpartum, sickness, or the adult's inability to properly care for the child. It created an environment of mistrust in getting the child's needs met. So if you cannot depend on your parents to be there for you, you're going to have an extremely hard time trusting anybody else would be there for you. Because after all, your parents are the one that are supposed to love you and be there. So if they're not showing up for you, you're not going to be able to trust that anybody else would. So this is typically for people who really struggle with trusting others. Children raised in this environment desire the closeness of their parent, but learn they will be rejected. They cannot depend on their parents to make them feel safe and secure. And as a result, they become adults that avoid closeness or emotional closeness. They can be distant, rigid, critical, and intolerant of others. They have great difficulty trusting others. So that is your avoidant attachment style. These individuals can't trust that anybody will be there for them. So in order for them to be able to function, they just avoid it completely. Ambivalent attachment style. Ambivalent is our third style, and it suggests that these children were raised in an inconsistent environment with sometimes intrusive parent communication and being overbearing with their affection. The individuals exhibit anxious, insecure, and unpredictable erratic behaviors. They tend to always blame others and never take responsibility for their partner conflict. They desire intimacy, but they push people away with their behaviors because they fear their partner's rejection. Their behavior can often result in being displayed as clingy. You guys remember the movie Thin Line Between Love and Hate? It's a perfect example of what an ambivalent attachment style looks like. If I can't have you, no one else will. You're not gonna leave me. I don't want you to go. Please don't leave me. That kind of thing. Anybody ever been in a relationship with someone that put the blame on other people, who would never take responsibility for their partner conflict? You can put it in the chat, or you can open your mic. You can unmute and let me know if you have. Relationships with ambivalent people are some of the scariest relationships that you could possibly have because they're unpredictable. You never know what they're going to do. Sorry, guys. You never know what they're going to do. Losing my voice. Talking too much. I don't know if any of you guys are looking at Married at First Sight right about now, but the Black couple, Michaela and Zach, Michaela is exhibiting ambivalent attachment style. The mere fact that she would get that distraught that her husband would leave to take the dog to the doggy daycare was clear sign, which is why he's having such reservation with the relationship. So that is what ambivalent attachment style looks like. And our fourth attachment style is disorganized. It's our final attachment style. And parents ignored or were not able to meet their child's needs. These parents would exude frightening behavior and would be abusive towards their children. As a result, these individuals are chaotic, insensitive, abusive, explosive, prone to outbursts, and untrusting, even though they are craving security. These are the people where you see like, oh my God, are they really arguing out here in public? They're letting all their business out. These are disorganized individuals because they have such such low levels of impulse control that they are not able to control their behaviors. And so it, in the moment when they feel it, if something pops off and they feel like they've been wronged or something, they can suppress it. And these are the most unpredictable individuals in the world. They're terrifying. And this is probably one of the most dangerous attachment styles because they do not have a healthy sense of how to show love. What love looks like to them is explosive, is abusive, is untrusting, is insensitive, is chaotic. And so if you ever get into a relationship with this individual, be mindful and try to get them into therapy. Try to get them into their own individual therapy so that they can be reparented through the therapist to work through those issues, because most people don't recognize that they are even are even showing up in the world like that because they're so used to it. It's what their household looked like. So they don't see anything wrong. When people that come from other backgrounds are like, what in the world? What? How are you cutting the food like that? Y'all know I'm Southern, so cutting the food is what we say down in Georgia. How you cutting the food with all this tomfoolery out in the world? I don't do that. Yeah, so you really have to bring it to that person's attention. Sometimes videotaping their behavior is good. You want to document it, especially if they are abusive towards you. You want to make sure that you are protecting yourself. And if they are abusive towards you, you have to get out of that relationship. I don't tell people to leave their relationships until there's like abuse. Like if it becomes physical abuse, because I'd rather you be alive and healthy and safe than somewhere getting your head bashed in. So, it is best to like document these experiences so that they can see for themselves, so that they can see how they're behaving. Because sometimes when they get in that chaotic rage, they don't even realize it's a whirlwind for them. They don't even realize that they are performing in such a way, right? They're just performing. They're just doing what they know. They're just doing their default behaviors. It's what they saw growing up, and so this is how they feel like they. This is how they feel like life should work. I don't know if you guys remember when Chris Brown attacked Rihanna, and then 2 days later they were on vacation. I don't know where they were, but they were on vacation, and people were like, how could she go anywhere with him? Like, how are they acting like nothing happened? It's because they both came from these very chaotic backgrounds, and so it was the norm for them. It's like, you just get on to get on. I'll beat you down, but then we'll keep it pushing the next day. So you want to be very careful of this attachment style and be clear about the red flags of this attachment style. These individuals will get upset about the least little thing. So you want to make sure that you are aware of how they are showing up in your life. All right, so here's where you guys have to have a moment of honesty. Is this okay with everyone? Is this making sense to you guys? Let me know in the chat, or you can unmute.
Yes, it makes sense.
Okay, perfect. All right, so here's where you have to have a moment of honesty. You must have an honest moment with yourself, and you guys know that I'm always doing that with you. You got to have this honest moment and be real. And assess how you emotionally attach to people. We attach to what is comfortable and familiar to us. And typically when we are in an abusive adult relationship, we have experienced some level of the mistreatment before. Either you have witnessed it, been the recipient of the behavior, or you have been the perpetrator of the behavior. But it is not new behavior to you. So you have to have an honest moment, like, where did this come from? As a result, subconsciously, this behavior may appear to be normal, and generally the behavior becomes acceptable. For example, we may make an excuse when someone takes their anger out on us verbally or physically by saying they're under a lot of stress at work. As a result, making excuses for bad behavior maintains the behavior and provides permission for the maintenance of the abuse cycle. So again, you have to have a moment of honesty and to make sure you're not maintaining any of this behavior with yourself or with the person that you're in the relationship with. Is this resonating with any of you guys? You guys ready to move on to your healing plan? You can let me know in the chat.
Yes.
Okay, all right. And I'm excited because we have a special guest coming tonight, and I see she just logged in, so I'm really excited. All right, so let's talk about your healing plan. The first thing you have to do is you have to be your own advocate. You have to be your own advocate. So step one, you want to forget about someone apologizing to you because you may never get it. You may not ever receive closure from that person. You got to give yourself your own closure. And what do I mean by that? Is that stop waiting around to get permission from the person who hurt you to heal you, because they'll never be able to do that. Your healing is your responsibility. You got to be your own advocate by understanding how the betrayal made you feel and the effects that it had on you. You cannot heal what you don't understand. So you have to, again, have a very honest moment with yourself about, how did this affect me? How did the rejection affect me? How did the abandoning me affect me? How am I showing up in the world now because of this behavior, because of what happened to me? Looking for healing in a place that hurts you will never be beneficial for you. Looking for the person that says sorry is not going to take away the pain of what they caused. For some people, it doesn't even relieve it in that moment. So I think sometimes we get stuck in pain because we're waiting on that person to say, I'm sorry. And the reality of that is that they may not ever say that they're sorry, because you may have met someone who does not take responsibility for their actions, unfortunately. So step one, you got to be your own advocate and forget about someone apologizing to you. Being your own advocate, again, you do not have to carry the burden of someone else's actions. Today, you choose to give those actions back to that person that displayed them. Write it down, make it plain how you are taking your power back. Write it down, make it plain. Don't hold on to what someone did to you. Don't hold on if they left you, if they abandoned you, if they walked out on you. Don't hold on to that. That is not your burden to carry. You don't have to carry that around with you. And so many of us, when we get hurt in this way, we do. It's written all over us. We've all seen someone and we're like, oh my gosh, she always looks like no one loves her, no one cares about her. Because that is the burden of some kind of trauma that has happened to her, that person is still carrying around on their back. You don't have to do that. You don't. You can give those actions back to that individual and be clear about knowing that, you know what, I did my best in this relationship. I cannot control what that person did, but I can control who I am and how I'm going to show up in the world from here on out. So write it down, make it plain how you are taking your power back, because once you do that, once you verbalize it and once you visualize it and once you see it, you're able to move on from it. You're able to move on from it. You need a plan. We all need a plan. If you guys don't know anything about me, I'm always the girl with a plan. I'm always making a plan for something, because when I have a plan, that decreases my anxiety. When I know what I can do to make me feel better, then I feel better about the situation. But when I'm just stuck and I don't know what I'm going to do, then that's going to bring on anxiety, depression, and everything, migraines, headaches, everything. It's going to bring it all on. So I'm always about write down, make it plain. How you going to take your power back? What does that look like for you? What do you need to do to make that work for you? That is how you design your healing plan. Step two is that you want to reframe. So reframing is a technique that is used to look at situations from every perspective. The goal is to understand everyone's position in this situation. Some betrayals are not intentional, and you may just be a casualty of war. Some people just lack a sense of self, and their lack of sense of self will lead them to do harmful actions, but you cannot control their behavior. People struggle with conflicts and may not have the wherewithal to make appropriate decisions. You don't have to own their decisions, but understand it enough to create a boundary of teaching them how to treat you in the future. That's to say, you got to be very clear when you meet someone on what they're bringing to the table and how they're showing up. Because if you see those red flags and you don't, say something about those red flags, if you don't advocate for yourself in that way, like, hey, this doesn't work for me. You said you were going to call me back and you did not call me back. And that doesn't work for me, because let me tell you what that does for me. That makes me not be able to trust what it is that you say. And if I can't trust what you say, I don't know if I can move further in this relationship. So sometimes you got to have the words to say to advocate for yourselves. And it's more women on this call. As women, we get so nervous about saying what it is that we need to say. This is in dating, and this is even in marriage, guys. We get so nervous about what it is that we need to say that sometimes we don't say it. We just bite our tongue because we want to keep the peace. We don't want to make waves. Meanwhile, you're sitting around in pain because you're like, this is bothering me, but I feel like if I don't know what to say about it. And you can't do that to yourself. You got to nip stuff in the bud. And it doesn't have to be nasty sister girl kind of way. She could be like, hey, can we have a conversation about You said you were going to call me at this time and you didn't call me at that time. And what that does for me, it lets me know that if you say you're going to do something, there's a possibility that you may not do it. So I need to treat you accordingly, that I can't trust what you say you're going to do. And sometimes when we put it in a sense like that, people are able to hear it. But if we come with, attitude and all that good stuff and arguing and fighting, nobody's hearing that. People are shutting down. Like, never walk into a situation talking about we need to talk, because you've already given the person the permission to shut down, because they're like, what am I about to be blamed for? So it's all about the approach in terms of how you have the conversation with people and how you set the boundary with people. And it is okay, guys, to set a boundary for you. It is okay. I think sometimes we get scared to set a boundary because we think the person will leave. If that person leaves, that's not who you were meant to be with. It's unfortunate, but it's the reality. So don't be afraid to set the boundaries in your life. So again, for your healing plan, you want to write it down. You want to study it so that when you begin to see those behaviors in yourself or others, you now know how to manage it. Everything is a teachable moment, and knowing thyself, recognizing harmful behavior, and creating boundaries allows you to take your power back. That's a tweetable moment of Dr. Roz Educates. Knowing yourself. Everything is a teachable moment. Knowing how you're harming others or what harmful behavior feels like to you. Again, it all goes back to knowing who you are. You can then begin to take your power back. And step 3 is forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about who betrayed you. It is for you. Holding on to the grudges, anger, and disappointments will affect your health. Stress, anxiety, panic attacks, heart health issues can all plague you if you let it. Your potential, your dreams, your passions, your family, and your purpose are all too important to be hindered by an act that may have made you stumble a bit off your game. You owe yourself more than that. You deserve to see who you can be outside of your betrayal. It does not define the total sum of who you are. You do. So you have to be very clear about, I am not what happened to me. This is who I am. Remember when we talked about self-image in the beginning? Your self-image plays into your healing plan, because who you see yourself to be will allow you to forgive foolishness and move on. I didn't say forget, but it will allow you to forgive. I mean, there is nothing worse than seeing someone who is plagued by something someone did to them 20 years ago. Like, they won't go to a certain city because that person lives there. They won't go to a certain event because they may run into that person. Like, nobody should have that much power over your life. No one. That person has probably moved on, gotten into another relationship. They're not even thinking about you, but yet here you are limiting your life because you're thinking about the hurt and pain that they caused you, and you're holding on to it. And really, when we hold on to the pain, what we're trying to do is really hold on to the person. So if someone has hurt you, do you really want to hold on to that? That's a question you really have to ask yourself. Why do you think you should be holding on to someone causing you pain? And that's the honest moment that you have to have with yourself again, in those quiet moments at night when you're trying to figure out your life. Those are the things those are the questions you really need to be asking yourself. Any questions thus far, guys? I know we've covered a lot in this hour. You can unmute your mic so you can put it in the chat. Either is fine. Let me see if I missed anything in the chat. Oh, good. I'm glad to see you working on forgiveness. Thank you, Pamela. Thank you. Oh, I'm glad to see that some of you guys can relate. Oh, all right. I'm glad to see some of you guys are ready for healing. That's awesome. Awesome. How do you handle anger for betrayal? Yes, I will send out I'll send these slides out to you guys. Yes. Let's see, someone asked that. Yes, I will. Okay, I'll send them out. How do you handle anger for betrayal? First of all, you have to ask yourself, is it anger or is it hurt? If you're hurt, then it's your job to heal that hurt. Anger is a secondary emotion. And honestly, what good is that doing you to hold on to that anger? Yeah, hurt. Hurt's the primary emotion. This person hurt me, and now I'm angry about it. Anger comes when you're like, oh my God, this person hurt me, right? But the primary emotion is hurt. And you have to look at, why did this person affect me so much? Was I too trusting? Did I see it? Did I ignore the red flags? Did I excuse a lot of BS for them to realize that they could do this? Because we all do it. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I know all this stuff. I studied all this stuff, and I have done it in my lifetime. Yes, I have ignored red flags, because sometimes we just want something to be. And we will excuse some BS because we want something to be. We want to make it work. And as women, unfortunately, we go through this thing called the hope factor, where we just hope that these Negroes will get it together, that they'll act right. And we keep hoping. And before we know it, it's 20 years later, and we're still hoping that they show that they are getting themselves together. But what does that do to you? And all of that hope factor, what is that doing to you? If you are allowing yourself to be hurt continuously, what is that doing to you? Tanika, girl, we have all been through the hope factor. Yes, it is a waste of time, because typically people tell us who they are. They really tell us who they are. Yep, it wears you down. That's all it does. Yep, sometimes you want what you want. Sometimes it may end up in a hurt locker. Absolutely. That was me. I had the whole factor. We all do. We all do. Hey, Tisha. Yeah, we all have the hope factor, and we become resentful, and then we get upset with ourselves, and we start blaming ourselves. Like, why would you put yourself through that? And if we remember this one thing, we cannot control anybody else's behavior at all. The only behavior you can control is your own. You cannot control anyone else's behavior. The only behavior you can control is what you do. And so you have to decide whether you're going to allow that person to have that much power over you that they can't affect your emotions. Because so here's the thing, your emotions are a choice. You choose to feel a certain way. Most people don't realize that. Most people are like, he made me feel this way. He made me feel stupid. No, you're making the choice to feel that way. So you have to be, again, comes back to, who are you? What do you believe to be about yourself? I'm not going to let somebody have power over how I show up in the world and how I emotionally show up in the world. So when you become clear about emotions are a choice, and you can control that, you can heal. You can absolutely heal from that. You can show up in this world completely different. Like, I'm not going to go to work with an attitude today. I'm not going to be the person that's like, I just need my coffee, leave me alone. I'm not going to be that person today. I'm not showing up like that. I'm letting all this pain go, letting it all go. Forgiveness is a very powerful tool, because once you let it go, once you forget, that person no longer has control over you and how you feel. So if nothing else, give yourself the gift of forgiveness. It really is a gift. And I know most people feel like, no, he needs to pay for hurting me. What is that going to do in the long run? She needs to pay for hurting me. What is she paying for? She probably moved on with her life, and she's not even thinking about you. He's moved on and had 5 other kids. He ain't thinking about you. So trying to hold their feet to something that they never, because it was so easy for them to hurt you, that they never were going to be held by the fire of it anyway, is a waste of your time. If you don't remember nothing else today, remember this: the only person you can control is you. You only have control over you. You can't control anyone else. And so wasting your time trying to manipulate a situation, trying to control it's unfair to you. Yep, that's so true, Kay. The other person will move on while you were stuck. And then you feel silly. You're like, all these years passed by. I have a really good girlfriend now, and I love her to pieces. But she's been stuck on a betrayal from 30 years ago. And it's almost like, you got to move on from that. It's showing up on your face, your wrinkles, all that. You got to move on from that. You can't let that hatred for someone and that hurt from someone dictate your life. It's unfair to you. It's unfair to your potential. It's unfair to who you could be, your dreams, your passion, your family. It's stopping you. It's keeping you stuck. And that person is not that important enough to keep you stuck. All right, let's see. I'm forgetting this again. It's not about who betrayed you. It is for you. Oh, sorry, I am rereading. Sorry, my apologies, guys. All right, so we have a special guest. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second. Let me see if I can find you, Michelle. I saw you come on. Okay, there she is. Hi, Michelle. Let me spotlight you.
Hello.
Okay, all right, go ahead, Michelle.
Good evening, everyone. And I just want to chime in and share my experience having participated in Dr. Roz's masterclass and then the follow-up sessions. Number one, they were on time. And number two, I'm still using the strategies that I gained from the sessions. The forgiveness piece, there's nothing more priceless than forgiving. And I know it may seem like I can't forgive someone who hurt me. You can. And when you really do make up your mind to do that, it is freeing. Dr. Roz isn't aware, but I had to employ these strategies recently with my parents in their own drama because my mother is stuck in unforgiveness of my father and his past misdeeds from 30, 40, actually 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And unfortunately, she lives in a space where she constantly replays the hurt. And I found myself repeating the lessons that were shared in our sessions. But things happened recently, and I just had to say, you know what? I forgive them both. Both. And I didn't tell them because sometimes people are not in a space to receive you forgiving them for their shenanigans. But I love to journal, and I just wrote it out, and I wrote out what I forgave them for. But when I tell you how free and I felt from that, it was like the load that I had been carrying during the situation was immediately lifted because I made a decision that at that particular time, I'm done with this. I don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm not holding on to this anymore. And that was the best thing I could have done for myself as it relates to my parents and their foolishness. So what else can I share with you guys that I got from this? Because it was a lot that I got out of this session. I'm a divorced mom raising two teenage kids on my own. And Dr. Roz helped me see my attachment style. And I really thought I was dealing with a lot of mess, but I really wasn't. I was in a better place than I really gave myself credit for, but there was still areas that I needed to fine tune and get together. And I was stuck in that hope box, hoping that someone that I was dealing with would get it together after dealing with him for several years. And, fast forward to today, I'm still hoping for you to fix what you haven't fixed from day one. At some point, we just got to let it go and realize that initially you may feel like, okay, I'm alone, but you may really have been alone the entire time while you were hoping for this joker to pull himself together. So it becomes easier when you really have those real conversations with yourself, when you write out what it is you're hoping for, and you see that at the end of the day, they probably really lack the capacity to rise up to where it is you need them to be in your life. So that healing plan is important when you really sit and dissect what you need for yourself to move forward in your life. It's powerful. You may shed some tears. It's okay. Live through it, experience, allow yourself to feel all of those emotions so that you can get to that place well, ultimately, you're going to be at peace, you're going to have joy, and you're going to be happy. Because happiness is a choice that we have to decide that I am going to be happy no matter what is happening in my life. It's never going to be perfect, but I dictate my own happiness and my own joy. And I had to forgive a lot of folk for foolishness that happened over time for me to move forward so that I can be present for those two people that I'm raising upstairs, so that I could just be in a space where I'm not only happy, but I'm positive. I'm not looking at the dark side of things, but I am every single day purposely looking for the good in situations in my life, at my job, in rearing my children. So I hope I answered, what you were looking for, Dr. Roz. I hope you all do consider this journey is well worth it. What you get out of it is absolutely invaluable. You can't put a price on it.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for sharing that. I think we have Tisha on the line too. She was in your cohort. Tisha, do you want to say anything? Let me see.
I just want to say, y'all, the kids are in the background. I have a 4 and a 6-year-old. Hi, y'all. I'm Tisha and I'm in Virginia. And Dr. Roz's class was an amazing experience. I was real distracted the first time, so I am taking it again. There's no shame in my game, but I had a lot of hurt recovery the first time, so I'm redoing it again just to get another recap. But it's great information, great tools. And, we repeat what we don't repair. So it's very, very important that we just, take the information, retain it, and utilize it. Because, again, we repeat what we don't repair. And that's it.
Thank you, Tisha. Thank you so much. Hug the kids for me. I've been seeing their cute little pictures on Instagram of them going to school. So
yes.
Cute. So cute, so cute. All right, so thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I hope that you have the hashtags and that you are putting them in your stories. You're tagging me on Facebook, you're tagging me on Instagram, you're tagging me on Twitter, you're tagging me everywhere so that I can see you. Make sure you tag me so that you can be considered for one of the scholarships. And let's get back to it. Hold on one second. Oh, come on, Chan, stop. My dog is harassing me right now. Thank you guys for joining tonight. I have a special offer just for attendees of the Dr. Roz Relationship Makeover Masterclass. Since you are here tonight and you were intentional about being here, I have an offer for you. I am getting ready to launch. Because you're here tonight, you are gaining access to the boot camp for my Dr. Roz Relationship Boot Camp, which is what Michelle and Tisha just spoke about. You guys are getting over half off just by being here tonight. It's a 3-week intensive, and we will begin on September 21st. Excuse me, guys. On September 21st is our start date. And let me tell you a little bit about the boot camp. We have weekly sessions every Tuesday. So let me just read this. Thank you for joining tonight. I am launching my new and improved relationship bootcamp, and I can't wait to share it with you because you are here tonight. You are receiving over half off access to the bootcamp. Our regular price for the bootcamp is $850, but you are getting it tonight for $299 if you purchase it tonight because you are here. Because you are here at this class, so you are getting a severe discount for the boot camp. And I promise you it is worth it. You will come out and see yourself very differently, and you'll have a plan. You guys know I'm the girl with the plan. You'll have a plan on how to navigate through your pain, how to make, even if it's for married or single people, even if you are already in a relationship, it will help you, it will empower your relationship and increase your relationship. Chance, please stop. I apologize, guys. So my relationship bootcamp is comprised of 3 weeks of intense virtual coaching through video seminars and live questions and answers. Each participant will receive a pre-test and post-test to determine your baseline function in relationships, a personalized assessment to help you understand your attachment style, to pinpoint your difficulties with relationships, Weekly group sessions on developing a better understanding of your relationship personality, determining which red flags you are more susceptible to based on your attachment style, and tips to enhance your intimacy and develop a personalized healing plan based off your assessment. My ebook on the personalities of dating and my healing journal workbook, these are digital downloads. You'll also receive those if you join tonight. And here's what you will get for joining tonight. You can join the VIP experience for $4.99, which includes everything in the earlier offer as well. The weekly intensive one-on-one with me to develop a tailored plan for your needs, a deep dive into family patterns that may be guiding how you experience relationships by doing a family genogram, an invitation to a private event with eligible suitors, where I will observe your nonverbal communication skills to provide you with feedback on your attractability factor, and hopefully you will make a connection with someone if that is your desire. So if you are ready to have the relationship that you desire, I am ready to teach you. You may want to screenshot this so you can register for the boot camp today. The special, the $2.99 special will go into Sunday. So if you register before Sunday because you were here tonight, you'll get the boot camp for $2.99. Here's where you can register at bit.ly .RozBootcamp21, Dr. Roz Bootcamp 21. Register tonight, and that special will go until Sunday at midnight. So if you register before then you'll get this at $2.99. But after that, it will go up to the $8.50 price. I think I saw a question. If you have any questions, you guys can put them in the chat. Vaughn asks, will I do a boot camp for singles only? You actually can join this boot camp. It's for singles and couples. You can actually join it. It'll be the same information, actually. Thank you, Inez. Thank you so much. Someone asked the question. Arjetta, I think I'm saying that correctly. Two things, Dr. Roz. One, how can we listen to the segment again? I'm going to send out the recording because I'm recording this, so you guys can have it again. And two, how can we get in touch with you to join your masterclasses or counseling sessions with you? So now that you have signed up, you are on my mailing list. So anything that I'll do, you will receive an email in regards to what I'm doing. But for the sessions, what you can do is that you can actually register for the relationship bootcamp before Sunday if you want to get the discounted price. It will go up after Sunday at midnight. Thank you, Loretta. I appreciate that. Thank you. So for those who, oh, good. Thank you, Arjetta. I love to have you. Go ahead. I love when people go ahead and register. I appreciate that. Thank you. So like I said in the beginning, there are 2 opportunities for people to receive a scholarship. Oh, you're welcome, Kay. There are 2 opportunities for people to receive a scholarship if you're doing the social media shout outs. So if you're in my stories, if you're posting them in your stories and you're tagging me in your stories or making a Facebook post, and if we're not friends, I think you can tag me in the stories on Facebook as well. And then that way I can see it and I will randomly draw 2 people who will, who did the social media shout outs to receive a scholarship for the boot camp. The boot camp sessions are Tuesday nights at 7:00 p.m. and they will be recorded. So if you miss them, you'll receive the recording for a lifetime. You have the recording for a lifetime. Are there any more questions? You're welcome, Pamela. Thank you for showing up for you. Thank you for showing up here today for you. How long are they? The classes generally range from for about an hour, from like 7 to 8. The one-on-ones are on your time. So you'll just schedule a time with me, and those are 1-hour sessions as well, 45 minutes to an hour session. So the one-on-ones is where we really discuss, we get into the depths of what's holding you back in relationships, what's keeping you stuck. You're welcome, Tisha. What's keeping you stuck in relationships? So the one-on-ones are important. Let me just say this. My one-on-ones can run from 100 to 150. So doing it in the boot camp is cheaper for you, if that makes sense. Thank you, Vaughn. Thank you so much. I'm glad you learned a lot. I'm glad this was impactful for you all. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for showing up for you. And I hope that you all will decide to join the boot camp. I hope that you all will, because I would love to work with you. If you know me, you know that I love for people to be in healthy relationships. I'm an advocate for healthy relationships, and I will push you to get to that. Oh, thank you, Tanya. It is, let me just say this. Although I'm very nice in this boot camp, I do hit you. So it is, in the truest sense, it is a boot camp. We get to the nitty gritty in the beginning. And sometimes it's a hard pill to swallow, but it's for your good. Yeah. Thank you, Michelle. I'll make you go deep, and I will make you be honest with yourself. We're not playing small anymore when it comes to you having the relationship that you desire. We are not playing small with your life anymore. We are going to ensure that you are getting what you need in life and what it is that you desire. What it is that you desire. So it's that first week, the first week of the boot camp, we are running. We are getting deep with your issues. We are getting deep with how to resolve your issues. And then the second week, we work on your attachment style. And so you then get a sense of who you are and how you show up in the world, which is probably, if I can be honest, that's probably the best piece about the relationship boot camp, because you get to see yourself based on your answers. You get to see yourself of who you are. It kind of helps you figuring it out. We'll do a SWOT analysis of who you are. And so that's another great cornerstone for this boot camp. I'll help you with that, because it may be a little hard to do if it's your first time ever doing a SWOT analysis. So we'll definitely, I'll help you with that process. Just trying to figure out the core of who you are, so that we can make sure that when you show up in a way that you want people to respect you and treat you well, if that makes sense. So yes, guys, make sure you do those social media shout outs, because I will decide on Saturday who the 2 scholarship winners are. So I'll say this, the more that I see from you, the more your name goes into the drawing for the random drawing. For those who want to go ahead and join at the $2.99 price, you can do that now at bit.ly Dr. Roz Bootcamp 21. You can go ahead and sign up now to secure your spot. You can go ahead and do that now. And if we are not connected, let's get connected. On Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, I'm at Dr. Roz Aker Black. I'm easy to find. I'm there. You can find me in any of those social media outlets. Are there any questions, guys, before we call it a night? I went over. I was hoping to be done with you guys at 8, so I apologize for that. If there are any questions, you can unmute your mics and ask them if you don't want to type them in the chat. And make sure I didn't miss anyone. Oh, we have all had the hope factor. That hope factor is something ugly, man. All right, guys, thank you for joining me tonight. I don't see any more questions coming in. If you do have a question, just go ahead and unmute yourself and you can ask the question. That's fine. Did I hear someone? It sounded like someone was unmuting to say something. If not, I appreciate you all for being here. Thank you for joining me tonight. I hope that you learned something very valuable. And please, please, please don't forget to do the social media shout outs. Let me give you the hashtags again so it's easier for me to find you. And make sure you're tagging me so that I can see you. It's, the hashtags are Dr. Roz Events and Dr. Roz Educates. So just make sure you're tagging me at Dr. Roz Aker Black at Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook so that I can pick 2 lucky winners. If you screenshot anything, it's okay if you post it. I'm okay with that. And if you can talk about it a little bit, that's fine. That's great. That's perfect. But if nothing else, thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you, Michelle, for coming in and talking about the boot camp. I appreciate it. Thank you, Tisha, for talking about the boot camp. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Uh-oh. Did I miss someone in the chat? Let's see. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Alika, you are welcome. All right, everyone, have a wonderful night. I hope to get to work with you during the boot camp. We start September 21st, so you want to make sure that you don't miss the deadline of Sunday night at midnight to ensure that you receive this discount for tonight. All right, guys, have a wonderful night. Uh-oh, is there someone else? Someone saying goodbye. You're welcome. You're welcome, Margetta. You're welcome, Tanika. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me your time tonight. Good night, Inez. Thank you for showing up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you all. Thank you. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful night. Good night.